In today's episode, we speak with Gene Hammett. He's going to be discussing the importance of creating a niche for your business. Don't go wide until you've gone deep. And also, the trap of success.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Gene Hammett has been a business leader for 20 plus years. He has started and run multiple multi-million-dollar businesses. He has succeeded, he has failed, and he's also reinvented himself. His mission is to help leaders step into their thought leader platform so they can become the authority and dominate their market. On his podcast, Leaders in the Trenches, Gene has interviewed hundreds of the world's thought leaders and best-selling New York Times authors. Gene is honored to have shared the platform with the legendary Jack Canfield and has been featured in Forbes, NBC, Success Magazine, and the Huffington Post. Gene is also a regular contributor for Entrepreneur.com. Gene, thank you so much for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of today's broadcast. Why don't we just start with just a little bit more of your background. You've been in business for the last 20 plus years. Give the audience just a little bit more information on your background other than the quick bio I gave.
Well, I usually start that I actually went to school to be an engineer. That didn't really plan to be an engineer, but I got the learning behind me, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I think I was just scared. I don't think in 1992 that it was quite as common to just go straight from college to go into your business. Whereas now some people are going from high school into their business, right?
Absolutely.
So I took a series of jobs to get myself prepared to be an entrepreneur. So I always knew I would be. And it was coursed through my veins. So I did strategy consulting, mergers and acquisitions. I did IT work on huge $100 million plus projects. Traveled all over the world, and then I realized I needed some sales. So I got into kind of a .com e-commerce, if you will, helping big brands sell online during that first wave of business going online, which was like 99, 2000, 2001, and when 9/11 came, I got let go, and I decided to start my own business. And so in 2001, I set up my own e-commerce business. So it's really a service-based company. And that first year, I would say I crushed it. I did over $1 million in sales, but $1 million in sales doesn't mean that much when your tax return says you only made like $30,000.
You're right. I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. It's the same story. I don't care what your top line is. What's your bottom line?
Well, I had to figure that out, and I got a coach, and I doubled my my profits that year. Then I got the coach. The next year I doubled my profits. The next year I doubled them again. Next year I doubled them again. I just kept doing that until I got about $5 million in revenue, and I kind of created this lifestyle business for myself. I was in the international sports tours, and it's a fancy way to say that I sold tickets to the biggest sporting events in the world, and I traveled all over the world. And that was really my entry point into entrepreneurship. And I say this because I go through this, and maybe you have coaches on the show before. Most coaches have never run a business.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And I got a really tough time with that because they come from a corporate America. It's a different experience when all you have to do is ask for permission to get some money, and someone writes you a check or says, okay, here, go research it. No, I had to make the money. I had to get customers. This was back before people did vaporware stuff. I mean, I actually made money so that I could invest in my business and I could hire employees. So
yeah, it's amazing. People ask me,
my background.
People ask me all the time. I said, what do you do? I said, really what I do is I'm a trainer. I also mentor and I also coach. And the mentoring piece is if you have a business that's doing 10 million or less, I mentor you because I've been there. That's what I've done for the last 16 years. So you're absolutely right about the coaching industry. If so many people just hang up a shingle and say, I'm a coach, I'm an expert, it ain't so in many cases. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about your podcast, Leaders in the Trenches. I know that the core of your business is creating rock stars for individuals and their brands. You've had so many great leaders on your podcast. Tell me some of the learning, some of the distinctions, some of the peak performance tools, tricks, tips, strategies that people are using to get great results.
Well, I'm going to start with one of my early guests, a guy named Larry Winget. Do you know Larry?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So episode 22 on Leaders in the Trenches, he's hilarious.
Yes.
He has this whole thing about passion and hating passion, which I won't get into, but if I disagreed with him, and I kind of paid for it because he kind of gave it right back to me. But there's something that Larry shared on the show and has shared with me, and I've heard him say it many times before, and it just sticks with me. And a lot of people in entrepreneurship and leadership, they take so much time to make decisions. And Larry's little words of wisdom just ring true to me is make a decision and then make it the right decision. Such a simple concept, but a lot of people will stress over this, and I've been there before. I've stressed over some of these big decisions I needed to make. But when you make a decision, then do everything you can to make it the right decision. It's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Absolutely. So many clients I find are torn in so many different directions. They make a decision, and literally 3 seconds later, they're like, well, if I do that, that means I can't spend as much time with the kids. And then they just conflict themselves in their entire lives. It's amazing.
I so agree with you, and I've suffered from this, so I'm not immune. But
sure,
when I've interviewed these great people, it rings through my head, and I can use it back with clients, and it's even in the book I have coming out. But I also learned this. I just want to share one other thing, at least with you. I'm not sure how deep you want to go here, but I decided early on that I wanted to help business owners that were trying to get traction in their business. They're in the trenches, right? So I purposely went out there and interviewed people who were rock stars in certain segments. And I've done probably 30 or 40 or 50 of those interviews. I also interviewed a bunch of marketing experts around how important it was to actually find out who their audience was before you create a solution or a problem. Because you should be interviewing those people and creating a product that actually the market wants and will pay for. And in fact, you probably should be selling it, pre-selling it before you actually build the product, in my opinion. And understanding your audience. For example, I probably had 7 or 8 people that have written best-selling books on niching on the podcast. And all of that was on purpose. Like I curated all of these guests and all these rock stars in their industries because I believe in that so much. And it become the basis of the way I see the world. And a lot of this comes from my own business and experience when I ran the sports tour business. In the first year, doing really well, I was all over the board. I had probably 600 plus events that I was working with. By the end of that, I really only focused on 6 events. And I realized that if I had done that sooner, I would have been much more successful, much faster, and with a lot less stress. So those are the 2 core messages that really ring true when I think about leaders in the trenches. And I can go deeper if you want.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a really good buddy of mine in Colorado, and he's an SEO expert, but all he does is HVAC. That's it. If you're not an HVAC company, he doesn't work with you. And as soon as he changed to that niche, his business exploded. Because let's face it, if you're an HVAC contractor or company, who do you want to hire? The SEO company that does everything or just that?
I have a client. One of my big success stories, I have quite a few, but one of them was all over the board. He does SEO is one of the things he did. And I asked him to, look at your different business segments and all the services he offers. Which ones cause you the most stress? And we excluded those. And which ones do you like the most? And we piled those up, and then we started looking at the value to the market, and it always came back with SEO for him. And we looked at the people he was serving, and they were all over the place. And I finally got it, and I got him to say the words, and we couldn't figure out exactly his target market because I sell products to people who do boring stuff like manufacturing companies. Well, that started the conversation, and we went down there, and it was really a short period of time. He actually only does SEO for e-commerce companies now. And he's going to give this, he gave a speech in 2015 to a technology company that has an e-commerce platform, 200 people in the room. And this sounds like one of those hard to believe stories. And I probably should change the numbers to make this more believable, but he'd never spoken before. So that's the first thing. Secondly, he didn't even get that much support from me during this because he's like, I got this. He shotgunned 2 Red Bulls, and he gets up there and delivers a speech. It's pretty dry. He comes off the stage and he realizes within a week he's got to hire me again because he's got to scale his company. And I said, what's going on? He goes, well, I did $50,000 in new business within the first 2 weeks of coming off the stage. And I was like, okay, let's get to work. So we started growing his business. I talked with him 9 months later. He was up to over $600,000 had come from that one speech.
Wow.
Because of all the new clients that had come on, a couple of strategic partnerships. And I had him on the podcast, and literally I was like, so, what, I didn't even know this. He goes, what was the numbers? He goes, well, that was $650,000. And that was 4 months ago. I know that's probably pushed up close to $1 million because of one speech.
To a targeted audience.
Spoke before. Yeah. And do you think anybody would have paid him a speaker fee for that?
No.
No, but he had a back end business, and he became the rock star. So it's like your HVAC story, but mine's a little bit different with the e-commerce.
And look, you got to start somewhere. I have a real good friend of mine and business mentor. I won't mention his name because of he's well known, but his first time getting up on stage, he was with Robert Kiyosaki, and he got off stage and he said, "How'd I do?" And Robert looks at him and goes, "Nice tie." That's all he had to say. And he's gone on to be, he's been on just about every single major stage. But he started somewhere. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Just do it.
And the biggest difference I see is people that let their fears control their life versus have the courage to move forward with it.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen that too within your business. Every moment where I looked at fear and I let it stop me, I can look back with regret. I just can. Yeah. And it's not debilitating, but this is kind of the basis of my book that we'll probably talk about a little bit. But I missed that calling. I missed the calling to do what I should have done. And instead, I did what I'd always done, which is just run my business. And I did not innovate. I did not really do what I wanted to inside. I was scared, and that was back in 2005. And I look back now, and I coined the term, the trap of success, because I made so much money, I didn't want to give it up.
Yeah, everybody thinks that it gets easier the more money that you make, the bigger your organization gets. The stress and the fear gets even higher. And so many people don't realize that. Absolutely.
I was afraid to lose what I had.
Yep.
Like the steady stream of money that I built kind of like this ATM machine. I had a lifestyle. I was training jiu-jitsu, somewhere between 10 and 15 hours a week or more sometimes. I had the life, but I wanted to innovate. I wanted to do something that really mattered in the world. And I decided to play safe instead. And that's the reason I kind of wrote this book on the trap of success.
And I do want to go into that book in a little bit here. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about fear. So many people want to eliminate fear from their lives and come up with different strategies. I like to use fear and use it for us. And what I mean by that is take the fear of not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Take the fear of everything that you're going to lose out on and use fear actually as a motivator to help push you forward. So many people are so afraid to get on stage and talk in front of people. How do you help them with that fear?
Specifically with the fear of stages, I found that it comes back to one thing. If you're nervous about going out there to present whatever you're talking about, and let's say you've done the preparation. If you didn't do the preparation, I can't help you. But if you actually know your topic and you've prepared, you've done some practice, and this could be just writing out the speech and knowing your bullet points, having slides ready. That's not That's not what I would recommend, but that could be where most people kind of start and end in that speeching. But it comes back to one thing, Thor, which is if you're nervous in that moment before taking the stage, you're more worried about what people will think of you than anything else in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. I thought that's where you were going. I was like, that's perfect. You're absolutely right. You're concentrating on yourself and not them.
I talked to someone, I won't mention their name, but I talked to a speaker coach the other day, and I said, why don't you speak to get clients? Well, I couldn't do that. I would just be so much in my head. And I'm like, so you support others, but you can't do it yourself. And we understand those people, right? There's some trainers out there and good teachers. But I just like, do you believe in your stuff? Yeah. Does the audience need what you have? Absolutely. Then you're doing them a disservice by not getting up there and performing in a way that connects you to them and demonstrates how good it can be when it's done well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have been nervous before and scared, but I also know it's because I care so much, not necessarily about what they're going to think of me, but I care about, is the audience going to receive the message and get the benefit, make the transformation? That's where my nervous energy comes from, but I do use it to my advantage. I put myself in the preparation mode really deeply. I interview people. I customize things. I make sure the stories match the audience, and I've tested a few things. I change wording as I need to. It's the same framework of the speech, but I customize it to make sure that I'm going to really connect with the audience. That's my biggest fear.
Some other great advice I received is never give a speech. Go out and have a conversation. Talk to them. Don't give them a speech. Don't present to them. Just have a conversation.
Thor, the first time I heard that, I needed it explained to me. So I totally agree with you. I want to explain it for the audience because I don't want to skip over this because this is a really big moment.
No, please.
If you guys are speaking, I've spoken probably over 100 times in the last 4 years. I mean, it's one of the primary ways I actually build my business. I love to do it. But if you are speaking to just talk to them, then you are, you're memorizing points, you're looking at slides, and you're just going to parrot back what you know. You're missing an opportunity that really connects with the audience. And what he means by this is it is a conversation. Like there are the right pauses. There are emotional bits and pieces in here that have emotional contrast, the highs and lows. I watch speakers all the time, and very difficult conversations or very difficult kind of stories. They just go lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, which is great. It's very vulnerable, but you got to bring the audience back up. But you also have to interact with the audience. You have to get them engaged. You have to ask questions. You have to do the things that allow this to be a conversation. And it's hard to do that the bigger the audiences are. But you have to train yourself if you really want to connect with them to make it a conversation, not make it a pitch, if you will.
Yeah. And a great word there is connect. Gain that rapport and really connect to them. It's so important.
Absolutely. I have 3 words that I run my brand by, and this is part of one of the speeches I do is very intentionally. I have defined 3 words that I look at on a daily basis. I actually have it in a clear cover on the underneath of my phone. So whenever my phone's face down, I can see these words. So I know that the first word is focus, because I know when I focus on what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to get it done. The next one was connection. Like, how do I connect with people? I don't really worry about selling. I just want to connect with them. I just want to connect. I want to see if there's a fit. When I'm on stages, I'm connecting. And then the third word is transformation. Like, what is the difference between where we are now? Does this email transform anyone? And so those are the 3 words I run this by.
Well, I'm going to tell a little story here. As I was preparing for today's conversation, because it's not an interview, I was going through some of Gene's stuff, and I clicked through to some of his freebies on his website, etc. And about 10 minutes later, I get this email, and it says, "I've been watching you." I'm like, what's this all about? So I click on it, and there's a picture of Gene sitting on his couch, and I click the video, and it's a personalized video that says, "Hey, Thor, Thanks for clicking through on the website. I'm sure you're doing some research for the talk this afternoon. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to it. If there's anything I can do in the meantime, let me know. And otherwise, just have a great day, and I look forward to connecting with you. I was like, wow, that stuff is good. Now, it took them 44 seconds to record it. A couple more, probably a minute or two to get it up and send it. But what a powerful, powerful way to connect with prospects, clients, and your audience. So well done, Gene. And I'm stealing that big time.
So we'll give the audience the tool unless you want to keep it for yourself.
Oh, there's a tool?
Yeah.
Oh, well, please.
It's another monthly fee because I know you don't have enough of those.
Oh, I don't care about that. Really. And that, it's a good point. I think so many businesses are not willing to invest. Man, if you've got a tool that makes your job easier, more efficient, more effective, and it costs a few bucks and you can connect with your audience, do it. Stop being cheap. Just do it. That's
Absolutely.
I'm off my soapbox on that.
What this is called BoomBoom, BOOM, and there's no affiliate fees or anything like this. But so a friend of mine turned me onto this. There's no uploading of videos, so I literally can sit inside my Gmail client, and I can hit send a video email, and it comes through my camera. Now, I wasn't shaven. You probably noticed that. And because Fridays, I don't really work that much. This interview was the only thing I really had planned for today. But I found that if you respond to someone with a video, like a personalized message, like there's nothing that's more intimate that I could do. And besides get on the phone with you. But we can't always do that. But if I have a chance, whenever I'm getting these people opting in, I do this on a fairly regular basis. I can't always do it. I can just hit record from that email client and record a 1 minute message. That's where I try to keep it under that, and it's actually easier than typing, but it's also more personable. So I'm glad you liked it.
Oh, it was absolutely wonderful. At first, I was like, "What do you mean you're watching me?" I'm kind of looking around, going, "Is my webcam on?" But I liked it. Well, very, very well done. Are you truly living your potential? Are you getting the results that you need, want, and desire? There was a time in my life where I was not, and I needed answers. For the last 16 years, I've been obsessed with the question of why some people achieve massive results and others do not. And I found out that it comes down to one thing: execution, and the ability to take your ideas and plans and dreams and turn them into reality. That led me to the question, what are peak performers doing that others are not doing? How do they think? How do they act? What is behind the science of execution? I have now uncovered the secrets to the science of execution, and I want to share them with you. I have an intensive 3-day event called the Business Execution Summit. If you are truly committed to taking your game to the next level and mastering the science of execution, the most important skill that you will ever acquire, simply take your phone and text the word BE Summit, one word, to 41411, and I'll send you out some additional information on our upcoming event. That concludes part 1 of our interview with Gene Hammett. Please tune in later this week for part 2. Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out.
decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.